Welcome to Red Dead Redemption 2. I've added over 100 mods in order to turn this into Undead Nightmare 2. This is a story about Arthur Morgan, a pelt hunter and trapper by trade, but due to some mistakes in the past, he is now on an adventure to cure his dear friend, John Marston. If you shoot your friend in the back of the head, you bet your buns you're gonna do all you can to get him back to full health. Our journey continues in Rhodes. We woke up the next day, and our new friend Lenny had some information about a doctor, and this doctor was at a nearby ranch, so the team saddled up and left first thing in the morning. Rhodes was a nice area. The grass was green, the trails were nice and ridden, and the amount of zombies weren't as much as in other areas. And today was perfect riding weather. We cleared a few zombies from the trail and ended up riding onto a small farm. Immediately shots were fired as if bandits had taken over. So we took care of the shooter and then some of the zombies that popped up. Looks like the zombies were getting a free meal with all the cows just roaming about. This wasn't the farm we needed, but we were close. So we saddled up again, but there was another ambush by bandits, so we took out a few, and during the confrontation, Arthur accidentally shot Lenny in the back of the head. It didn't look like Lenny was hurt, but he was bleeding profusely. Hopefully he was okay. We needed to get to the farm fast so we could patch that up. We continued down to the ranch with my two friends that I both shot in the back of the head, accidentally of course. I was only grateful that their heads didn't look like this, because there'd be no coming back from that. We rode through this scenic route and ran into yet another abandoned town. We cleared some of the undead that were roaming about and then continued onward. There were actually a lot of zombies that started to show up. Hopefully this wasn't a bad sign, because this farm was our only lead. Checking on Lenny, he was still bleeding pretty bad. We needed to get him patched up, but there were zombies hot on our trail. We didn't want to lead them to the ranch potentially, so we had to take out the ones that were following us. So we went in and fought a few, killing any undead that we saw. They had to be coming from somewhere close, and it looks like they were held up in a small little building on the side of the road. A bunch of them came out ready to eat. We had Lenny and John shooting from the back, and Arthur went in with a hatchet, hacking and slashing. There were zombies so deteriorated that they were literally walking skeletons. But don't let these zombies fool you. These zombies got hands, but hands don't match up to a hatchet unless you grab Arthur from the back. We continued killing these zombies until there was none left to kill. We went to make sure there was no more left inside the building, and it was empty. Now we found a note, and in the note, it said something about an oil field and about a group of survivors that were heading there because this place got overran. Arthur kept this in the back of his mind, and then the zombies were coming back, so we got out of there while we could to find this doctor at the ranch. We rode down the road this time with no stops. It was actually a quiet ride for once, and then we saw the ranch on our sights, plus a bunch of the undead on the outskirts. This was not a good sign. We hopped off our horse and took out a few zombies near the entrance. It looked like the zombies had already gotten here before us, but we had to double check. We walked through the barn and it was empty as can be. No survivors there. We ran into the middle of the farm, and it looked like the livestock was still alive and well fenced off for a few of the gates, but no humans in sight. A few of the doors were locked and boarded up, and all you could hear was silence inside. We continued to search a little longer, and there was nothing. We did, however, see a zombie that walked past us as if we were nothing. He even gave us a dirty look. This lead ended up being pretty dry. There were no survivors. All the houses were boarded up, besides a few, but those few were empty as well. We did, however, converse with a cowgirl that was riding through. She told us this town was overran a few days back, and the survivors fled down road to where they had church on Sundays. We had just come from that same church, and Arthur remembered the note and what it said about the oil field. The oil field was right up the road as well, so that was our next destination. If we had any kind of chance, we had to get there fast. So we left the ranch and started heading towards the oil field. We already went to 2 stops that had been overrun. We had to run into some luck sooner or later, so Arthur was hoping. We saw an abandoned cart on the road, and Arthur was hoping this wasn't one of the survivors' cart. We searched around the cart a little bit to see if there were any clues left behind, but there was nothing. Lenny was still bleeding though. So a little farther down the trail, we reached the entrance to the oil field. We were immediately met with zombies running towards us, from the front and the back. Zombies had followed us from the trail. They were knocking weapons off Arthur, as well as his hat. We had to get them fists out. Lenny and John kept the zombies on the trail at bay as Arthur went in deeper into the factory. And inside, there was no one in sight. Nobody living or nobody dead. It was almost an eerie feeling, but Arthur continued on until he saw a single zombie on a platform, but it soon disappeared and their friend came out. Arthur got lucky and hit the zombie with the butt of his gun, and as soon as he turned the corner, there was an army waiting. So Arthur got a couple of clean headshots, and as soon as that group was dispersed of, even more came. Luckily, John came from the back as well and had some cover fire. These zombies were coming out of nowhere. If there was this many zombies in this location, there's no way the survivors survived here. They either got eaten or they moved on somewhere else. There was just too many, and they seemed to just keep coming. It was quiet again, so this is our chance to search around the factory. We walked around to see if any doors would open. It was tightly boarded shut. We did, however, see a sign that said "Do not enter." Maybe it was the survivors trying to keep people from opening up the factory, but I think the zombies got out anyway. This place had been overrun out the yin-yang, and it definitely wasn't safe for anyone. We did one last check around the back of the building, and nothing. This lead was a bust as well. Everywhere we went seemed to be overrun. We did one final check at some of the lower buildings in the area, circling around the neighborhood, and every house was empty. If somebody was living, they probably would have came out by now. With no more leads to follow, we went to the closest town nearby, and that happened to be the town that mostly solves all of our problems, Valentine. We tied up our horse and went to the saloon for some drinks. We had to go back to the drawing board and see if we can scrounge up any new information to continue searching for the cure. So we took this time to clean up some of our gear and get a good night's rest. It was going to be another long day tomorrow. While we slept though, our main man Lenny talked to some contacts he had in Valentine. There was a town to the west that may have some more additional information to follow up on. So we hit the trail as soon as we could. It sounded like another promising lead, but the only way to find out was to pursue it. So we rode like bullseye through the wind while getting some bullseyes ourselves. It was one of those hot, cool days. The sun was perfect and the wind was breezy, but it was still hot and sweaty. So we took a quick swim while we could. You have to enjoy the little things in life. Further down the trail, we stopped at a small trading post, and it's a good thing we did. As soon as we did some bartering, a zombie came in and punched the shopkeeper square in the nose. Arthur had his back though, and even disposed of the body for free. Afterwards, we continued riding in the rain, and on the way we saw a clearing. A group of horses were enjoying their free time with not a care in the world. How nice that would be. But we were stuck killing zombies. Down the road, we got chased onto a farm where we had to fight with guns and bullets. There was a whole posse of bandits that wanted what we had, so we took cover when we needed to and shot a few heads. We even brought the dynamite out for this fight. We couldn't get killed by these guys. Zombie John would never make it on his own. So we took care of all the bandits that showed up and a few undead that came to say hi as well, until the coast was clear. There had to be a reason the bandits were here though. Maybe there was a stockpile of supplies. That wasn't the case. Instead, we found a group of massacred survivors stuffed in the barn. I told you the humans were the worst. We searched one of the houses looking for supplies or even survivors, but as always, it was quiet as well. We did, however, find some coordinates while looting the body on this small ranch. There may be a survivor outpost hidden away in the mountains, but it was going to be tricky to find. So we followed the trail to the end point, and then we had to go off-road. There was supposed to be a small trail we could follow and a well-fortified cave at the end. But how do we get there? Arthur had no idea. We checked a few spots, and there was some zombies climbing mountains. The mountain terrain made it difficult to traverse, but we made it work. We were searching for hours until we did find a narrow passageway. There were a couple zombies though, even way up here, and that wasn't a good sign. We found the cave and went inside, but it was too dark to go further. We had to grab a light source. So we grabbed the torch from our horse and proceeded back inside. The entrance was small, and as soon as we got inside to explore a little bit deeper, some damn zombies came in and rushed us. We were throwing hands in the dark, and Arthur didn't know if he was punching zombies or if he was punching rock. But we knocked a few heads and teeth out and eventually backed out of the cave. We were gonna need 2 hands just in case there were more zombies in here. So we grabbed our lantern instead. And a good thing we did, because the zombie actually came out of the cave. Damn, this was not a good sign. If the zombies infiltrated this area, maybe there was no safe areas anymore. Maybe only the big towns stood a chance. We finally got into the cave with our lantern in hand and a revolver in the other. Zombies waiting to punch us right in the face, but we saw her beforehand. There was a narrow bridge connecting to the other side, and zombies were blocking the path. The survivors had turned in here, and all that was left were the undead. We took a few of the zombies that rushed at us, and then proceeded to cross the bridge. Another zombie jumped out at us and knocked the gun out of our hand, but sometimes Arthur's hands are the most dangerous tool he has. We walked deeper into the cave cautiously, and it was quiet. You could only hear the dripping of water. Then we reached a ladder that let us go down a little bit deeper, and it was still silent. There was a ledge that told us that people did once live here, but now they were undead or they fled. so we left the cave and went back down the mountain. Today was just not our lucky day either. Our additional 2 leads fell short. We'd have to forge our own path, but we couldn't forge our own path during the nighttime. It was too dangerous, so we had to go to a safe town and stay there for the night. The next closest town was Strawberry, and although a few zombies got inside the town, it for the most part was relatively safe. So we rode through the night with a lantern lighting the way, as well as the moon blessing us with its glow, until we eventually made it to Strawberry. We got off our horse. I think it's a good thing we came to Strawberry, because there were 2 bandits that showed up, but Arthur quickly dispatched them. And then after the bandits, there were a few zombies that showed up too. Somebody needs to give this man a medal, as he took them out for the safety of Strawberry. In today's world, even when you are safe, you're really not safe. We took a nice quiet walk through Strawberry and went to the local hotel to get a room. We slept the night away, and the next day was a new day. And who knows how many days you have left. We had to make this one count. Zombie John was counting on us, and if we weren't careful with our gun again, Lenny would be counting on us too. Lenny did work his magic once again though. He scrounged up a few contacts he had in the Strawberry, and our next adventure began.